Your Excellency, the President, Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Leader of the Opposition, Honorable Speaker, Honorable President Chandrika Kumaratunga, Honorable Sambandhan and other members of Parliament, members of Cabinet colleagues and others, members of the Diplomatic Corps, distinguished invitees, ladies and gentlemen. 30 years ago this month, in February of 1989, when I first entered Parliament, my head was full of dreams. Dreams for my beloved country, dreams for our people, and of course also dreams for myself. At the time, a war was raging on in the north, and an equally tragic youth insurrection was engulfing the south. As a result, I dreamt mostly of peace, where all Sri Lankans, in spite of their caste, creed, class or religion, could live in harmony and dignity. The incredible economic advances of the early J.R. Jayawardena years were now being squandered away in the name of a separate state in the north and a Marxist dystopia in the south. Thousands of valuable lives were being lost almost daily. And ladies and gentlemen, like most young people, I thought I could make a difference at the time. Ladies and gentlemen, I guess I have always been a dreamer from a very early age. In fact, one of my earliest dreams was to become a racing driver, but I have never ever driven in my life. Even today, I don't have a license. Later, I dreamt of being a designer taking London and Paris by storm as a student at St. Martin's. However, I decided to pursue my career here at home after witnessing the remarkable changes taking place in Sri Lanka in 1980. Gone were the queues and the scarcities. Sri Lanka was a country full of hope and promise as the new decade dawned, which inspired me to return home in 1981 to pursue my dream of being a successful designer. In fact, as you saw in the video, I met Chandra Tenuara, who has been one of my dearest friends since then, the iconic textile designer who invited me to join her at the University of Aesthetic Studies as a visiting lecturer, while promoting Sri Lankan textiles as a consultant at the Ministry of Textile Industries under the stewardship of the minister then, the late Honorable Vijay Palamendi. My father, Mahanama, was, I believe, also a dreamer. He was named Dom Morton at birth and educated at St. Joseph's College in Colombo, later changed his name to Mahanama in anticipation of a successful political career which he embarked upon as a young lawyer. He was in fact a communist in his youth like many other young men of that era. As a lawyer, he made his name appearing free for cases in relation to police brutality and caste-related violence. He entered Parliament in 1952 and as the Deputy Minister of Justice in the SWRD government, my father in 1956 presented the bill in Parliament that would abolish the death penalty. This is the legacy, along with his reputation for being honest and straight-talking, which I believe made my entry into the political arena possible nearly 23 years after his death. My mother came, of course, on the other hand, was not a dreamer, but she was a practical, earthy and compassionate person. If the people of Matara respected my father, they loved my mother. She was one of the first women to enter local government politics in Sri Lanka when she was elected as a member of the Matara UC in the 1950s. However, she did not serve her full term as she felt that her new role was too restrictive and formal. She was a people's person. I like to think that some of my better qualities were inherited from her. My mother was not judgmental. I remember writing to her from London as a 19-year-old, grandly announcing that I was madly in love, and a week later I get a reply which merely says, "Whoever makes you happy will always make me happy." She was also non-communal. At a time when mixed marriages were frowned upon, my Aunt Manil, who is here today, married Kumaranandan, a Tamil lawyer and a Guinness Book record holder for swimming across the Pork Strait at the age of 18. My mother was the first member of the family to welcome the newly married couple with open arms. When I first visited party activists in Matara, my hometown, as the newly appointed SLFP organizer in 1988, many of them introduced me to others as Kema's boy and told me that if I needed their support, I should come back with my mother. Even today, there are still people who refer to me as Kema's boy, and I'm always proud to be called so. Ladies and gentlemen, 30 years later, I believe that I still remain a dreamer. Many of the dreams I dreamt for my country are unfulfilled, but I feel that I may have been able to make a little difference along the way thanks to some of the very special people whom I have had the privilege of associating. Mrs. Sirimao Bandaranayaka and Anura Bandanayaka must have seen the politician in me through my bohemian camouflage, for it was they who first invited me to become the SLFP organizer for Matara in 1988. In fact, at the very first meeting I attended at the Dali Road headquarters of the SLFP, it was Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa who first welcomed me to the fold by introducing me to other organizers there. We went on to form the Mothers Front movement at my home in Matara, where we were both elected as co-conveners of the Mothers Front movement. And at that time, we formed a friendship that I was not to know that my best political friend of that time was to be one of the reasons for my departure from the SLFP many years later. Today, despite much water flowing under the bridge and us, the Honorable Leader of the Opposition and me, standing in the opposing end of the political spectrum, I still consider President Mahinda Rajapaksa as a friend, and I'm very, very happy that he is here with us now. Ladies and gentlemen, the game changer in my political life, of course, was Chandrika Kumaratunga, who brought hope and change to a moribund political party still at the time espousing Soviet-style socialism, extreme Sinhala nationalism and closed economic policy. Chandrika Kumaratunga perhaps was the first politician to dare talk about, I quote within commas, a federal solution for the ongoing ethnic conflict and win a landslide in the exclusively Sinhala Buddhist electorates of the Deep South in the provincial elections of '93. President Kumaratunga embraced the market economy with a human face, of course, and revived the reformist agenda for Sri Lanka, which slowed down after the war started in 1983. The privatization of Sri Lanka telecommunications in 1997 is still considered as a textbook example of a good privatization in a developing country. I'm also happy to have been given the opportunity by President Kumaratunga to beautify and redevelop Colombo. The regreening of Golface, developing Beara Lake and commencing the Shanti redevelopments with Sahaspura flats in Maligawatta, along with other beautification projects which followed, has today paved the way to Colombo finally transforming itself to one of the most beautiful and livable cities in it. When Elam War 3 broke out in 1995, at President Kumaratunga's request, the Sudunelu movement was launched as a grassroots campaign in the Sinhala villages about the need of a political settlement if a lasting and durable peace is to be achieved. The high point of this campaign was the Book and Brick project to rebuild the Jaffna Library, and it still remains a source of personal pride for me that the library was completely restored by a committee co-chaired by the late Lakshman Kadirgama and myself. Ladies and gentlemen, after a period of not daring to dream, it was in 2010 that I entered the UNP and entered the premises of Sirikota for the first time in my life. Despite having said some pretty rude things about its leader over the years, Mr. Ranil Wickramasinghe welcomed me graciously and warmly to the grand old party. This made me feel that I had come home at last. In the UNP today, I have found an inspiring leader and a team who share many of my political beliefs and values. In the UNP, I have also found a party where I could dare to dream. With the ascendancy of President Maithripala Sirisena in 2015, after what is called the Rainbow Revolution, the country got an unprecedented chance to fulfill many of our dreams that have eluded us for decades. Actually, it is to President Sirisena's credit that he trimmed many of his executive powers down himself. And during the last 4 years, Sri Lanka has restored, as a result, its democratic credentials, established the rule of law, and elevated the reconciliation process to become the topmost priority. Despite setbacks from time to time, Sri Lanka continues to build a new future for her people based on the fundamentals of democracy, reconciliation and development, albeit festina lente. The recent 51-day constitutional crisis also demonstrated to the country and to the world the independence of our legislature and judiciary, and that Sri Lanka has now become a mature, stable democracy. After 30 years in Parliament, I would be be lying if I say that I have no regrets and disappointment. It is natural human nature to feel disappointed, but also important not to lose hope, not to become cynical, not to stop dreaming of a better, brighter future, and always to remain resolute in achieving progress. All of us, politicians and non-politicians alike, have a responsibility to make our nation a better place to live in and to keep working with determination to ensure the realization of our dream for our nation. A peaceful, stable, reconciled and prosperous Sri Lanka for all, where the dignity of each and every individual is upheld. Last but not least, let me again say thank you to the people of Matara, who for 30 long years have put their trust and hopes on me to be their representative in Parliament. Their support, strength and inspiration have made me who I am. Finally, a big hug to my Aunt Marnell for her vigorous activism, and to my dearest sister Jayanti for her enormous strength and support, still doing her utmost to nurture Kema's boy. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.